we go then, last chance saloon for SK Gaming, and Rogue looking to stay firmly put in the #1 position in the standings. The coach Swiffer said, look at the mid lane, and immediately a Victor gets banned by SK.
Yeah, taken away from Larssen. I was just about to talk about Hecarim, because I feel like that's one of the junglers where SK's been finding a lot of success. Of course, has risen to priority a little bit more in the current meta. Hecarim was where my eyes were lying. Now that's banned away, I'm looking at things like Zhao, Lee Sin, but a lot of mid bans already from SK.
I mean, I don't really understand the TF ban on SK side, because I feel like it's something that you should be able to first pick, especially I guess the team like Rogue, it can work, but I guess that maybe they don't play it or they're scared of Larsen's TF.
Do you think Ryze is now just raising in priority with these two bans?
I think for sure right now Ryze is on the list.
Maybe it's a first pick for SK. If you're seeing like these two bans with Ryze, blind pick, what kind of champions mid are we looking at here? Are we thinking Orianna and things?
Ryze, Orianna, Ryze, Syndra, something like that should be the two picks.
Yeah, again, LeBlanc could also be good, but
True.
I think LeBlanc, Lee Sin is the kind of pairing you want to look at. Curious to see if SK want to first pick Lee Sin, take that away. I mean, we probably will see an Aphelios Jinx trade-off, as we always do see throughout the last couple patches, throughout the last couple... Yeah, there's the Ryze just locked in. So if you're Rogue now, what would you match into it?
I think either Lee Sin, LeBlanc or Orianna, Zhao, Orianna, Viego, I think is one of the two combos that they would play, in my opinion.
That makes a lot of sense. We'll see what jungler SK want to opt into. There's a lot of early game junglers that I think Malrang's comfortable doing. And the interesting thing I've seen about Rogue is they're also happy dropping Malrang to 4-5. As much as picking up Zhao here or Lee Sin would be fantastic, he's still got things like Volibear and Trundle that he can pick up whenever he wants to do. But there's Aphelios expecting SK to pick up Jinx. And then we'll see what support jungle is leaning towards.
Yeah, looking towards support specifically, I think is going to be very interesting, because we saw that Treatz is just so much more valuable when he is on something like a Rakan, as opposed to something that keeps him stuck in the lane where he does spend a lot of time. He needs to be roaming around that map with Gilius, and I think similar things go for Trymbi, you know? He seems better when he is unlocked.
Definitely is, and we saw Swiffer in the interview talked about it. Mid to bot is where they need to focus. They need to make sure they stop Rogue from being able to control bot side river and have both those lanes pushed in, because that allows Malrang to push up here. So expecting jungler here. Do you think picking mid on 3, so there's Jinx, picking mid on 3 is good for Rogue, or would you in a draft say to your coach, hey, we can pick a support here and I'm fine, I've got enough champions into Ryze?
I think they should pick like Thresh and then ban supports, and then I think Larssen will either get targeted mid bans like Orianna and LeBlanc, or they will also target one of Odoamne's bans, which will lead to Larssen having one of those champs, and looks like he is maybe going for the Corki.
Yeah.
The Corki.
This is Rogue we're talking about.
There's no way he's going for the Corki special, right? No way. Is the mid matchup good for Corki?
No. Yeah, Orianna is for sure the better pick here.
Goes here. And SK, interesting, have gone for the Gwen flex. Now, we see this a little bit in the LCK. First pick Gwens as well. Tend to be difficult matchups in the LCK specifically. Akali Tryndamere is what Gwen blind picks kind of get threatened by. So we'll see if they ban that away. Of course, it can be a flex, but playing Ryze, Gwen, mid-jungle doesn't sound too hot.
No, you usually want that AD jungler that deals, that can follow up on Ryze CC, not really a Gwen. So I'm expecting like a Lee Sin, a Viego, one of those two for Gilius in the jungle.
Yeah, makes sense.
Maybe a Trundle as well. In Xin, it's pretty good too.
Yeah, with Jarvan banned away, we're looking at probably an AD jungler for them, and then we're talking about supports as well. You mentioned Thresh. We'll see if any support bans do come through, but Gnar taken away is one of the tops that they want to avoid with this Gwen. Yeah,
I think SK should probably ban Thresh, in my opinion. I think Thresh and Aphelios is pretty good together.
Yeah.
Also getting into 4-5 is very good for them.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, and then they can maybe leave counterpick. Well, I guess they could also leave counterpick for Trymbi on 5. And then pick top lane for Odoamne on 4. But there's the Jarvan Volibear ban, so expecting Gilius to get that Lee Sin for the mid-jungle setup. Yeah. And then the blind pick support from Treatz. I guess what we see across the world right now is just kind of Thresh early rotations. If you're T1 especially, and Carrier gets his hands on that, the game's over. Or things like Nautilus, Leona is where the engaged supports tend to lean towards.
TK off the board. We saw that from both teams last week, and I think we can all rejoice to know that the Catfish won't be in the first game at least. And Graves would also be very much according to plan for Odoamne.
Yeah, it gets the top push into Gwen. Makes a lot of sense. And it's kind of a champ that can also kind of play weak side a bit, I think, as well. You can play more towards bot, especially if you're counter-picking support. But there's Leona blind pick, as we expected. Some engage. And now they're just going to round it out with jungle, with the Lee Sin, which we also kind of expected some kind of AD jungler to pair with their Ryze. A lot of single target damage, though, onto SK's comp. If that Lee Sin does get locked in, what are we looking at here? It doesn't feel like too much team fight apart from mid to late game.
No, I think it's mostly Ryze pushing mid and playing with Lee Sin and looking to dive bot, is my guess. especially when you play Ryze, you usually want to make early plans, early dives happen. So I think they will play for mid push and look to dive Rogue's bot lane.
Yeah, look to move around the sides and expecting Thresh to get locked in as expected again. Makes sense. To Leona, of course, you can play the Leona E to stop the engage from happening, and you can play Lantern for Aphelios to walk up and catch waves. Oh no, they're going to swap to Rakan for a team fight, so sacking the lane a little bit there makes sense with the Orianna, I think. Give you some kind of follow-up.
I mean, they're already going for like the mid-late game composition, so going for Rakan makes sense as well. So.
So, both comps, SK, they can have like an early game push mid play for sides. Rogue, is this more of just a scaling team fight?
Rogue is like, you try to play it safe in early game, and then if you reach mid game and you're even, you will probably win team fights. And for SK, it's mostly just forcing early game, forcing dive, forcing plays in the jungle, and maybe invading with Larssen.
So it's in SK's hands to force the game into Rogue, top team, #1 team in the league. They are the ones who have to get the early leads. We saw it against Vitality, they got kill leads. They just need to transition it into objectives so they have an easier time in the mid to late game, whether it's towers, whether it's dragons, heralds, and they need to find the setup. Rogue, of course, they're going to play stock standard. Larssen's on his mage, Trymbi plays the engage support, everyone's happy, and we'll see what Malrang can do.
Bread and butter Rogue composition, and I think it's hard to push them out of their comfort zone when they're in it. But for SK, I like the fact that they've given themselves the tools and the agency. It might not necessarily be an easy task or easy tools they've given themselves with the single target damage, but if they're going to go out, they're going to go out swinging.
They definitely are, but would you say that Rogue's comp is very short-ranged? Rogue, not sorry, SK's comp.
SK, yes. I think it's very difficult, even if they snowball. I feel like they need to be really ahead to win this game, because Rogue's comp just scales way better in my opinion.
Has a lot more range as well, a lot more distance that they can cover for engages. And the Graves will naturally win over side if it gets ahead with Hullbreaker.
Yes, we'll see what happens here between Rogue and SK Gaming. Rogue, of course, they want to secure a good position for them going into the playoffs, which I don't think that can go wrong. But we're looking for them to clean it up, right? To see how strong Rogue can be going into those playoffs. And for SK, what a huge task they have this weekend. They have to win all three, starting with this one, SK versus Rogue.
And on to Summoner's Rift we dive. I'm Medi, he's Vedi. We are here for the first two games of the day. Huge game here for SK, obviously, as the analyst desk so aptly broke down. It's win, and you continue to have a chance of being in, whereas if you lose this one, hey everyone, if you lose this one, you are well and truly out. Niski and Cage will seem to agree. They think Rogue has very strong scaling. They have a winning side lane in Odoamne as soon as he gets his full build. By that I mean a single Hullbreaker. And as the game goes on, it's going to be very hard for SK to truly execute into this Rogue lineup.
Also see a bit of an invade here from the bot lane of Rogue. They will take a bit of damage. Trymbi going to be forced to start with the W. Not going to be too upset about that, but for the time being, nothing coming off the back of it. Important to note as well, there are more than just the stakes for SK in this matchup, because XL also have a lot riding on the results of this game.
They really do. XL currently sitting at 8 and 7. If SK win this, they can still catch up with XL at 8 wins. However, if SK lose, only Mad Lions will be able to catch up with XL and Vitality. Because Mad Lions have won less games in the second half of the split than XL, XL would automatically get the top spot in that tie. Meaning, in essence, if Rogue win this game, XL make their first ever playoffs.
Yep. So, of course, XL still have everything in their own control should Rogue still lose this game, but Rogue could do the work for them. Yep. XL have built the foundation to get themselves into playoffs, and now they are the biggest Rogue fans as we come into the final week.
And how many times have XL got into the final week of a split and be like, we just need one win, we just need 2 wins, and then failed and failed and failed, and here, maybe they don't even need any wins to make it.
Well, it's funny because every time I speak to Caedrel about this, he always mentions he's just like, if one team could have just beaten Schalke, we also would have qualified, and then Schalke went on that insane miracle run. So we'll wait and see. Of course, the analyst desk did talk about SK needing to make stuff happen in the early game, and our eyes will naturally be drawn towards this mid laner, Sertuss on the Ryze. He is going to be trying to leverage some of his priority and utilizing the strong mid-jungle duo that they have to try and open the map up and look for opportunities for him to roam. You'll notice right now that the bot lane does have push. We may very well see Treatz look for a bit of a cheeky roam up, but for the time being, they're just going to keep this wave pushed in, as we see Gilius pathing towards the bot side of the map, Malrang looking towards the top side, and mainly both junglers just playing around where their lanes have priority for the time being.
Malrang, a jungler that has been very active in the early game. Gilius has been copying, I won't say mimicking that style, but across the course of the last few weeks, we've seen a lot of Volibear. We've seen him trying to be more aggressive in the early game, trying to get things rolling for SK, because one of SK's key weaknesses in the regular season has been that early game. They tended to fall behind, around 2,000 gold deficit at the 14-minute mark. Here, we'll see if Gilius can make some action happen early on. While you see his bot lane pushing up, he's now working towards mid. This ward was spotted by one of those Scryer's blooms, and so Gilius will be able to actually clear out any vision Rogue had on this bottom side.
Now, this is pretty interesting because SK used the Blast Cone to try and get some information as to where Malrang was. He left Wolves up. And so I'm not sure if they actually checked the Gromp or not, but from their perspective, he could be topside pathing towards bot. He could have skipped Wolves and then pathed up towards the top side. And Malrang was able to navigate his way around that cone, which means that right now, SK don't have clear information as to exactly where Malrang is. They can likely assume that he is towards the top side of the map, largely because, well, they just played for that bot scuttle crab. Yeah. There was no one there. There was no contest for it. And with the top crab being up and Malrang very clearly knowing that they're on the bot crab, it would make sense for him to be towards the top side. So that does force Jenax to play a little bit defensively. He went for an early back. Now got to invest the TP to get back into lane. Make sure he has that extra item and extra bit of safety, as Gilius is going to reset while covering for the bot side of the map.
I did wonder if Gilius would look for a gank here. Because SK pushed their wave up early, it meant that the wave would start bouncing back towards their side. Gilius is here just covering as the wave is shoved in by Jezu and Treatz. He's on a ward, so Comp and Trymbi, as soon as they saw him there, immediately just backed away, and they should be able to catch this one without too much trouble now, underneath their own tower.
One of the big things we talked about was trying to get this Ryze open up and outside on the map. One of the ways in which you can do this is, well, hang on, as we see a bit of pressure just thrown towards bot, as you highlighted, Gilius just helping the spot wave push in. One of the ways in which you can, and ways which we've seen Ryzes get help in terms of getting out onto the map, is having your support roam up towards mid with the jungle and then attacking it. So by having Gilius come down bot, making sure that they can get this reset out and that the wave is in a good position, this will give Treatz the ability to start moving around the map first. Have a look at your minimap right now. You can see that he is making a beeline straight towards mid lane. And this is that Malrang sees a window where, hey, maybe we can do something bot. If Jezu overstays, maybe we can look for a dive. I can also clear some of that vision out. And basically, you can see how Malrang is kind of pivoting and adjusting based on the map state. And SK is also looking to try and execute upon their game plan. For now, though, Treatz just hovering around the bot side of the jungle. Larssen needs to get his reset off. But in this matchup where Orianna is often very favored, she can out-trade and out-poke that Ryze. And especially on a very confident and capable mage player like Larssen, you know that Sertuss is going to get bullied, he's going to experience some pressure, but he's doing pretty well in terms of the farm department, and now we could see a window. He does have level 6, he does have the wave push in his favor. Is there something that he's going to look for? Is there a potential play that he could find?
He's working his way up towards the top side of the map. Odoamne already burnt that TP, as has Jenax, but Odo already 6. Jenax still only at level 5. Needs that final few minions to die and give him their experience to get himself back up towards that level 6. Nothing really happening with that first roam from the Ryze, but does exude pressure onto the map just by being out of vision.
Still, not ideal. You can kind of see where some of the coordination, I'm not sure where those pings came from. You saw 2 back pings onto the Wolves and the Gromp. I'm not sure if that was Malrang saying, hey, watch out, Gilius is on this side of the map, or if this was Gilius saying, I need to clear these camps before I can look for a play. Regardless, SK really couldn't find anything up towards the top side of the map. Odoamne had a big wave stacked up as Trymbi gets a bit of poke damage on Treatz, likely not going to convert that into much. But regardless, Malrang has information that Gilius is likely on the top side of the map, and he's seeing this as a window to force. Odoamne has spotted out Gilius, and now they're going to run into each other.
Odoamne knowing he was on the weak side of the map. Gilius chunked out by Odo. Collateral damage a possibility, and Gilius will flash. Didn't have a ward to jump to with the safeguard, and so didn't really have an easy escape route.
And look at the freedom that this now gives Larssen. He's just walking into the face of Sertuss and openly going for trade, saying, your jungler's just lost Flash. There's no way he's going to come. I know that I'm going to win out on these 1v1 trades, so screw it. I'm just going to fight you. I'm going to force you back. And again, it comes back to this game plan of SK wanting to open up the mid laner to be able to roam around the map and try and attack these sides. But Larssen, on a winning matchup, is just not giving him the opportunity to do that. And with the information that the rest of Rogue is gathering, they've got themselves the first trade. They're limiting Gilius' impact. Odoamne is roaming from top using his prio, and this is then allowing Larssen to do what he does best. Play well in terms of the laning phase, shut down the opposition where he has a winning matchup, and basically keep the early game under control, which is exactly what Rogue wants.
And as much as Rogue have already locked their spot in playoffs with 12-3, they do actually need to keep ahead of Fnatic if they want to lock in first spot for their third time in 4 seasons. First, second, first so far, now looking to make it another first. But if they end up tying on win-loss with Fnatic, they actually lose out that tiebreaker because of wins in the second half of the season, our second tiebreaker rule. Rogue going 9-0 and then only 3-3 so far in the second half might bite them a little bit if we get towards that situation right at the end of the split.
Of course, as you rightly said, very much depends on what
if they
the
win
final
out,
Super
they're
Week
fine.
looks
Yeah.
like. Yeah, they just need to keep winning, and this is something that Rogue typically during the regular season does very well. But I also want to bring up, in terms of playoffs, how they have been top 3 for the last 3 splits in a row, you know? And a lot of people say that, like, they choke, they fall short. I mean, like, is third really choking? It's one of those things where, like, I get where it comes from. I fully understand. We all saw that final. We all saw the 2-0 lead that they had over the Mad Lions. So, like, I understand that sentiment. But credit to Rogue. They have been a top 3 team in the LEC at the very least for our last 3 splits. And based on their current performance, they're looking to do it for a 4th split in the row. So, like, huge credit has to be given to Rogue in terms of the caliber and consistency that this roster and organization is able to put out.
And you think of the transformation they made to get here. They were a 9th and 10th place team, and then they brought in their ERL lineup. They totally transformed things, and since then it has just been up and up and up and up. And even this season, lots of people looked at them and said, mate, you've lost Inspired, you've lost Hansama. Can you actually do anything? As we see SolarFlare going a bit wide there, Trymbi dodging. A lot of people put Rogue as a B, C tier team with the changes they made, and they came out and went undefeated in the first half of Spring.
It is very, very true. So, let's have a look at the current state of the game for Rogue. Of course, the gold is dead even. Based on what the analyst has said, they feel that Rogue's comp does scale better. They feel like that it does have stronger teamfight tools. And right now, they're trying to use some of their prio to play around this Rift Tower. You can see that the Ryze does have prio in mid, already made the rotation up towards the river. Treatz also on his way. Trymbi now trying to get back to base as quickly as possible so he can join up with the squad. But it looks like that with Larssen going back to base, Rogue are just going to have to concede this. So a big win here for SK overall. Of course, this will mean that Jezu is going to lose a fair number of plates, and you can see how comp just melts through that tower. But getting this Herald could open up the map for SK to start looking for these plays. But 10 minutes in, SK are yet to find anything.
You saw Treatz moving up through the bottom side river to try and help out if a Rift Tower fight did start. That allowed Comp and Trymbi a little bit more time to force Jezu away from that bottom tower. As much as Jinx can be a menace in the late game when you're getting dived on by a Rakan and Aphelios early on, it's pretty difficult to survive that. So 2 plates go over to Rogue, and now we have to see how SK decide to use this Rift Tower. That's going to stop the channel. That's a tempo advantage. The pendulum swings slightly more in SK's favor.
Wow. I think it could have been if SK chose to reset, but they're just going to stay in lane for now. I guess they'll push this wave out, then look for the reset. But you'll notice that Trymbi has had the opportunity to go back to base and actually make his way back out onto the map first. What is Trymbi going to do? The Drake spawns in about a minute's time. This should allow Rogue to actually be first in terms of Drake setup. They have secured themselves the Scuttle Crab. They have good vision in the area for the time being. Larssen is keeping the wave pushed. He needs to be cautious of his mana consumption here. There is no blue buff available for him, and he is going to run out very soon, but he will have the TP up. So perhaps he's going to go for a quick reset, then have the option of TPing back into lane should a fight kick off.
So that's what
he's
going to try and do with Sertuss. We'll look for the interrupt, as you say.
Still okay, 40 seconds, but look at SK now. They're back out onto the map. 3 members strong. Treatz, Gilius, and Sertuss. The core trio that you're looking for to try and get that mid priority. Larssen, with honestly a disrespectful base there, choosing to get interrupted means he doesn't get that reset off, and now he's still very low mana with the Drake spawning in about 25 seconds.
So he's got 2 corrupting potion stacks. He's used 1. Gilius looking for the kick here. Larssen will flash away. Rift, round walk. On the chase there by Sertuss. A little bit short. Larssen pops the shockwave. Went through all of his corrupting potion stacks to have enough mana to get that shockwave down.
But that's a flash now gone for Larssen. still has the TP available, but will lose his flash as you identified. This will give a brief window for Jezu to get some plates of his own. Gilius still holding on.
And that's actually really good for SK though, because they've evened out the place they were taken. Larssen here kicked back, no flash, stunned up, and Sertuss should be able to rattle the damage down, but the quickness keeps him at bay for the moment. Larssen now nowhere to go. The chase is on. Zenith Blade will be up in a couple of seconds. Just wide, Larssen continues to dance around.
What?
The Sonic Wave hits Trymbi, but the Mega Death Rocket lives up to its name once again. SK find first blood.
Props to Trymbi. He did everything that he could have done to keep his mid laner alive, but Larssen just did not have the tools to get out of that situation. SK rightfully punish Larssen for overstaying in the mid lane, and they get themselves first blood. Sertuss should be fine here, or maybe not.
Casting Guard coming out, Zenith Blade. Malrang's actually not in the best of shapes. Dives back in with the audacious charge. Sertuss is ticking. Sertuss is not going to fall. SK find 2 kills in quick succession.
So we had a quiet early game, but SK, they're able to punish Rogue's, well, honestly, disrespectful play. They're able to get a big pick onto Larssen. They punish Malrang as he tries to defend that mid lane tower. They get themselves 3 plates as well. They get themselves a dragon. SK now find themselves with a 1k gold lead. And
they found a couple of early-ish kills. It was the latest first blood we've had in Spring at 12:20 or so. Before that, it was 12 minutes and 4 seconds, but SK backed it up with another one. And the dragon, keeping Rogue away from the dragon stacking. It's a Cloud Soul for us here today, and we'll have another look at this play.
So Larssen, without flash, is trying to push out the wave so that he can go for a reset, but Treatz flashes over the wall, uses the ultimate to set up Gilius to be able to get the collapse off, and Trymbi
does so much.
He plays that so well. He charms up Sertuss to mitigate his damage, gets a 2-man knockup, but Larssen, without any flash, with very little mana, there's just no way for him to really be able to escape, and to just add the icing onto the cake, it is Jezu that's able to pick up the kill as well for SK. Now you look at Sertuss here, just trying to make sure that this gets underneath the tower. I think it's a little greedy that he does hit that, but he believes, okay, my support is here, I have the stopwatch, I'm fine. And then Malrang thinking that I just need a little bit more damage. Doesn't quite have it, and Sertuss swags his way with a Teemo emote.
Treatz very close to getting the Shield of Daybreak stun down there as well, but good dodge from Malrang meant that he almost took down Sertuss. Small mechanical changes in plays can really define the early game in games like this.
But let's take stock of this early game.
Let's do it.
Because when we talked a lot about what SK want to do, it's very much about trying to get Sertuss out on the map, trying to attack these side lanes. Well, the side lanes have not been attacked. No. We have seen some investment in the mid lane as Sertuss goes for a bit of an exchange. And Sertuss is in a pretty good position, but overall, the gold is pretty even. Let's see if SK can break open this mid tower, because this is going to be very important. But you can see...
Treatz locked up. Shockwave comes down, Treatz pulled back underneath the tower, and there's no escape for him. They didn't know Malrang was lying in wait, and Treatz had no way to get out of the fight.
And it comes back to this overall short-range comp Sertuss.
Malrang going in once again, Gilius with the Sonic Wave, but you just can't save Sertuss here. Root onto Trymbi, didn't get the overload Q, so don't even know if he had enough damage to kill off the Rakan.
And just like that, Rogue find themselves with the gold lead once again. SK, they found themselves a good opportunity in the early game, but I feel like that they needed to try and leverage this control that they had over mid to then try and move attack the sides. Why not use this 4-man, or 3-man rather, in the mids to then try and attack the bot lane tower? Then you can bring your Jinx in the mid lane, and then you can start using her range to actually siege. But as you saw, the moment that you have a Ryze, a Larssen, and a Leona get underneath the tower against an Orianna, that Orianna is just going to have a way with you. You can't close that gap quickly enough unless you're willing to commit everything, and SK end up getting punished for it.
Gilius spotted on a ward here. Back ping is coming out. Odoamne doesn't have the ghost. X-Flash into the wall. Yeah, you were spotted there, my man. Odoamne. I mean, Solar Flare's an option, but Quick Draw, of course, can get you away from that. Gilius hits the Sonic Wave, looking for the kick back in the smoke screen. Still gets the kick. Treatz with the stun follow-up. Solar Flare going down as well, and Odoamne, you knew they were there, just oversteps.
Looks like that he wasn't aware of Gilius' presence. Wait, no, he should have been. He definitely saw him. He definitely knew. And he still gets hit by the Q. Big blunder there by Odoamne.
And Treatz wasn't aware that Malrang and Trymbi were waiting for him. It's going to be a 1-for-1 exchange once again. Jenax with not too much mana, but the needles are going to do so much work. Gilius gets another Realm Warp chasing in as they look for Trymbi underneath the tower. Flash away from the Sonic Wave. Tower falls in the bottom lane. Still even in terms of gold, but SK are landing some punches.
Wow, a bit of a fiesta developing right now as we see kills and picks going across the board.
Oh, good flash away from the Severum. That Moonlight Vigil would have been enough. Jezu finds the solo kill.
A big outplay there comes from Jezu. He flashes away from the ulti from Comp. Comp then has to flash away, which means that he doesn't have it available for when Jezu throws out the super mega death rocket. Odoamne tries to TP in to defend, but it was too little, too late. SK find themselves with the kill lead, but the gold is dead even.
SK are finding a few avenues to get into this game, but they have to keep the ball rolling and not lose out on the backswing. Treatz here looking for Odoamne once again, but isolated with a hull breaker. That is not a fight you ever want to take, even if you can get a 2v1 situation. Rogue now with their second tower of the game, and once again, the gold lead swings into their favor.
So now we're kind of moving into a state of the game where, okay, SK haven't been able to get their ideal early game setup. They haven't really been able to take down any early towers. They haven't been able to open up the map. But what they have done is Rogue, after taking these side lane towers, could be in positions where SK can look for collapses and look for picks onto pushing members of Rogue. And that's kind of what they're going to have to start doing now. Utilizing this realm warp, bring Treatz in for a flank, making sure that you control areas of the map with vision so that you can look for picks. And this is a good answer here from SK. They know that Orianna's pushing in top. They have control over the bot side of the map. So now it's about trading, getting something back, constantly trying to look for picks and punishes, but they need to be as proactive as possible because the longer this game goes, the stronger Rogue is going to be.
Sertuss has flash here, but he's respecting the fact that no one from his team is on this side of the map as of yet. Cloud Drake up, and Gilius is trying to secure that as SK invested all their time and all their vision on this bottom side. They will be able to take this without any contest from the Rogue team. For the moment, though, still relatively even between these two teams. Only 100 gold between them. A tower here, a dragon there. Nothing to write home about. First item starting to come out. It's Everfrost Rakan. It's Everfrost Rakan, Betty! Let's go, Trymbi!
But you can talk about that in a minute, because right now we've got to focus on this mid lane siege. If they overstep, Trymbi could look for an engage, but they're going to be respectful for now. They don't want to overcommit. They don't want to overdive. They know that the longer this game goes on, the better. So, Medic, I will now give you a window. Tell me about your Everfrost Rakan. Why is it good here? Why does it make sense?
So originally I learned it from Kaiser, and I will give all credit to Kaiser. He's the guy that kind of, at least to my knowledge, originated the idea. What it does really well, one of the weaknesses of Rakan sometimes is actually getting on top of people. You can quickness W and you can catch people, but if you are unable to slow them, there's so many dashes and so much mobility in the game, it's hard to keep them CC'd down. So what you do is, you either land an Everfrost as they're running towards you and trying to engage onto you, or when you start to move in, you hit your Everfrost, and either you get a slow or a root, and then the follow-up knock-up from the grand entrance or the quickness is very easy. You don't see it in a huge amount of games because Shurelya just provides team-wide movement speed and generally is the better choice. But when you're playing into a few different melees, like a Leona who's trying to get on top of you, like a Lee Sin who's trying to get on top of you, even like a Gwen, it can be very strong because it allows you to either disengage or find your own engage.
So you're saying that this makes sense and Trymbi's not just doing it because you asked him to do it before the game started.
So he did also tell me before the game started, yeah, I haven't played it yet, but I can just first time on stage. So he might just be doing it because I asked him. I hope that he shows to the world just how strong it can be. And it is slightly more expensive than Shurelya's though, so it's about 300 extra gold that you have to wait for.
I also want to come back to what Kadra was saying on the analyst desk, which is that SK's comp is short range. We saw a prime example of it when they tried to siege onto that mid tier 1, and I think that also in the context that you're just providing, right, when these champions try to engage on you, the Everfrost can be very effective at trying to mitigate some of their mobility and making it harder for them to actually deal damage. Of course, the exception to that is Jezu. Jinx, very powerful late game hyper carry, does have a lot of range at her disposal, and if she gets the space to freely deal damage and get those resets off, then she will be very strong. The question is, will she be able to survive the onslaught of this rogue composition, especially with Orianna, Zhao, Rakan, very deadly, very quick combo that can quickly get onto an AD carry and make their life miserable.
For a second as well, I was thinking, oh, maybe Trymbi just wants an early Oblivion Orb, so he got 2 amp tomes, then he's going to go and build a Bandle Glass Mirror. But nope, with the Lost Chapter in his inventory, it will be the Everfrost. Anathema's Chains for Treatz first here.
I can have a look and see who that's on real quick.
I'm going to assume it's on the Orianna, but it could actually be on comp as well. You have to click on the opposing champion, so maybe it's on comp.
It's... I can't tell.
Just look at comp for a second.
I'm looking at comp.
Yeah, I can't tell either. No, those are his guns.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Well, it's on someone. We'll find out at some point, I'm sure. I'm going to assume it's the Orianna, because then you just build... You can just get armor. for the rest of the team. SK continue to try and push in this mid-tier 1. It's been a thorn in their side. A couple of times they've died fighting for it, but with 4 members strong and Sertuss in the wings, they are able to chunk it out. Still only 700 gold between these two teams now, even shrinking to 600. But a 2-item Jinx, a 2-item Aphelios, and team fights on the horizon. As Malrang locked up Solar Flare just a bit wide. Here comes Jenax as well. Malrang's going to have to flash away. Rift Herald should be stopped, stymied from getting any damage, stymied from getting that mid lane tower. Gravitum though, ooh, double flash from SK, respecting the fact that Larssen had that shockwave as an option. Rift Herald still gets the charge in. Meanwhile, Odoamne is doing top laner things. He has an item called Hullbreaker, and by darn it, he's going to take down towers.
Okay, so a lot of really interesting things happened there. So Malrang dropped the Herald, knowing that pressure was being generated on the bot side of the map, and also it was likely going to run out soon. But also he noticed that with the mid lane tower being low enough, 1 charge should be enough to secure the tower. So as long as they can get a little bit of control, it should be easy, and you can have Odoamne push bot, Larssen push top, everyone collapses, yay, Rogue get themselves a tower. However, you notice that SK actually collapsed first, with Treatz going for an engage onto Malrang, and then the rest of the team trying to follow up. Malrang immediately flashes away, recognizing that he's in a numbers disadvantage, so doesn't want to commit to the fight. But then, very cleverly, Comp uses his ultimate with the Gravitum, knowing that Larssen is already on the way down, and there's an opportunity for a wombo combo. If they die there, that could be a Baron for Rogue. So the double flash immediately comes out. The delay on the Gravitum means that both Jezu and Gilius can get away to safety, but then they can't stay and actually defend the Rift Herald. So just a very quick and clever response there from Comp to be able to recognize, hey, this is an opportunity, I can stop this, and they end up getting the tower overall, along with the bot tower, because remember, Odoamne doesn't rotate, seeing that everyone had committed to defending the mid lane play. So Rogue, really good awareness of what's going on the map. Again, gaining more and more advantages as Gilius now looking for a pick.
Going to get knocked up here by Trymbi. Odoamne coming in with the smoke screen as well. Treatz and Gilius trying to team up, but couldn't find anything in this topside jungle. It's something we've seen Rogue do incredibly well, is have even game states, and then off a sequence of plays that they have planned out, they managed to get, you know, a sizable gold lead. 1.7k, not the hugest, but considering it's been basically even the entire game up until this point, and we'll definitely take that. I have been informed the Anathema's Chains is sitting on Malrang. I wonder if it's just Treatz is the one diving in a lot of the time, so he wants to try and reduce some of that damage that is coming in from the Xin Zhao. I mean, it also reduces their tenacity. So Malrang, if you can CC him up when you are going in, when you're getting that Zenith Blade, getting that stun off with the Solar Flare, can become very tricky for the Rogue jungler to escape. Odoamne.
Okay.
Okay.
That's annoying.
I mean, for Jenax, 100%.
I mean,
but Odoamne is like, yoink.
Yeah. But there are so many mid laners out there that have just seen that, and they're just like, oh, Treatz.
It's pretty tanky with the Eclipse. Solar Flare going out as well. He's going to try and flash away. Comp now here. Moonlight Vigil. The chase is just absurd. Trymbi able to escape from the Everfrost. Ignite is ticking him, but he will be able to survive. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Malrang, look at the damage onto this jungler. Jezu outside of the Crescent Guard. No, the rockets won't do it. The splash damage didn't do it. The zap didn't do it, and Malrang survives.
Oh my word, Rogue, that's so annoying. Everything about that was just so annoying. SK will use this window to try and force the Baron. Let's see if they can pull it off.
No Moonlight Vigil, no collateral damage, only
no
the quickness.
jungler for Rogue.
And no jungler, as you say. Malrang still back in base. He's coming back out now. Ghost used by Odoamne as he looks to get onto the backline. Jezu no longer aggroing on the Baron, no longer auto-attacking. It's Jenax and Gilius trying to take it. Trymbi going in with the quickness, trying to get onto Jezu. Gilius secures the Baron. Now can SK get out? Gilius will be sacrificed. Jenax needs to escape. An enhanced Baron recall might be enough. Jezu manages to get back to base. Jenax, is he just going to execute? No. Oh, he TPs. Underneath the tower, he TPs out. The final turret will not be enough. Jenax escapes. SK get the Baron. Let's see what they can do with it.
And this time round, it was just a really good response from SK. Like, so many things happened in a very short space of time, but SK recognized that they were the ones that actually came out on top. So the reason why I mentioned this is really annoying for Rogue. Look, so Leona is over the wall, flashes away. Yeah, Comp and Larssen are just killing Treatz within no real danger of themselves. Trymbi's then forced to disengage, and Odoamne and Malrang see an opportunity to force a fight. But hi, my name's Gwen, I'm immune. Does so much back damage, or return damage rather, to Malrang having that level lead. But then Malrang just barely able to escape with his life, but he's effectively dead. He has to return to base because he doesn't have HP, he doesn't have the flash, which means that SK know that they can force a 4v4 as Rogue has now found another pick.
Treatz every time is on that front line. Solar Flare gets the Banshees out of Larssen as they look for the chase. Malrang fighting Treatz down towards the bottom side. He's going to get knocked back. Sertuss goes in with the Realm Warp, but they can't get the damage down. Malrang, though, will fall. SK find another kill, and now they're on the chase. Remember, they're still fighting for their playoff lives, and Gilius is not willing to give it up without a fight. Another Sonic Wave connects. Trymbi and Larssen force back. The Shockwave does absolutely nothing. Shut down. Trymbi now chased out. Odoamne continues to push in the bottom lane, but SK are not willing to go quietly, are not willing to let Excel have that free trip into playoffs. They continue to fight, they continue to push, and they're looking to take down the #1 team in the LEC.
SK, this is a big opportunity for them. If they can get the win here, they still have a fighting chance in playoffs. Odoamne, does not die.
It. He's looking for the chase. Everfrost gets the root, but he will be shut down for it. As you can see, Everfrost, a great item there. He did root Jezu for a second.
As he died. Yeah, I saw it, Medic. I saw it. But let's take stock of everything that just happened, because Rogue thought that, hey, let's just engage on the Treatz again because we've caught another member off. This time, though, the rest of SK is in a much better position to collapse. Treatz tanks it all up, and then Malrang gets separated. A really good round walk from Sertuss kind of splits Larssen off from the group, and then Comp and Trymbi can't really find an opportunity to get into the fight. Then Gilius here with a great kick with the root follow-up as well. Very well played. Jezu's able to pick that follow-up kill up as well. And ultimately, SK find themselves with a bunch of kills with the Baron as well. I realize I'm saying as well a lot, but that's just because a lot of stuff is happening.
Yep, it really is. 28 minutes in, 2,000, 1,600 gold lead for SK after they snuck away that Baron. They got 4,000 gold out of it. And Vedius, there's a poem.
Well, the dragon is spawning.
As well, the dragon is spawning. There's a poem that springs to mind. Gilius, Gilius, God of Sin, ascend to godhood and grant me this win. Right now, he's looking to do that. He was part of the Schalke Miracle run.
I think everything is about whether or not Jezu can survive the fights. If he can, then I think SK are in a good position. Jenax, though, is level 17 as well. This dragon is melting.
It's only third of the game for SK. Odoamne on that front line. Malrang diving in. Jezu low. Collateral damage not enough. Moonlight Vigil going out, though, in the Inferno is stopwatched by Jezu. Now the turnaround comes in. Jenax has killed off one. Trymbi gets the knock-up. Comp dived back to by his support. SK forced away, but they get the dragon and they get a kill.
So the initial engage from Malrang looked promising, but I feel like that there was no real follow-up. I wasn't keeping track of what Larssen was doing. I was only really paying attention to Malrang, but he basically forced Jezu completely out of the fight. The problem was he then found himself pretty much isolated against Jenax, and when Jenax is able to free hit onto that front line, he's just going to melt through. And with 3 items finished, being level 17, it's just way too much damage. So let's keep track. Where does the follow-up come from with Larssen? He throws the ball down. Ideally, you want to put the ball shield onto Malrang, and then he flashes in, but you can see here, Larssen isn't able to follow up with the Shockwave. The Q also isn't in range of Jezu either. Larssen actually uses the E on himself, and it just feels like a bit of a coordination issue there. Malrang commits to the fight when there's no real way for the rest of the team to follow up the traps as well. Mitigating that follow-up from Rogue ultimately means that SK find themselves another big advantage. They get the Dragon, they get a kill, and now they're just waiting for the Baron.
Jezu sitting on Infinity Edge alongside his Phantom Dancer, Kraken Slayer. That Jinx can put down a whole lot of hurt. And I do want to say, actually, the more I look at it, the more I love this Anathema's Chains itemization from Treatz. Because if Malrang is the one engaging, cool, 20% reduced tenacity. When you're near me, I just stun you and you really can't follow up. If Treatz is the one engaging onto Malrang, cool. We just burst you before you can really do too much, and even your Crescent Guard won't save you because we can just walk into it during that stun duration. For the moment, Rogue very much on the back foot, only 1,500 gold behind, but these last couple of fights have definitely gone in SK's favor.
Certainly have, and I think that it's just Rogue's target focus and Rogue's execution in the fights have just fallen short. We've seen Treatz be the focus in back-to-back fights. In the last fight, we just saw poor coordination from Rogue. And it feels like the SK right now have their number. But ultimately, the Aphelios is still very strong. The Orianna is very close to that death cap. And you know that if the combo is able to be pulled off, Rogue will have a lot of damage.
I think the big thing is Jezu and Sertuss. Sertuss's flash will probably be back up around this Baron spawning, but Jezu's will not. And you have quickness flash from Trymbi, you have flash shockwave, you have all of these key engage tools available. Comp even has purple gun as well for the Gravitum with the Moonlight Vigil. It's going to be a hard fight for Jezu. No stopwatch, no GA completed yet. They have to protect this Jinx on the backline. They have to protect Jezu if they're going to stand a chance, assuming the fight begins before his flash comes back up.
Well, let's have a go. Let's have a look, rather. Both teams right now fighting for control of the river. Rogue have the numbers, which means that they will gain control and flush out the vision from SK. The reset coming in from Jezu. Has he been spotted on that ward? It looks like for the time being he hasn't. As
spotted on the minion wave, I think, that he was cloning.
Could very well have been as well. But in any case, Rogue aren't going to capitalize off the fact that Jezu's gone back to base, and he's grabbed that GA that you were talking about. He will now have a lot more defensive itemization compared to the last fight. His flash is just about to come out as well, and you know, I acknowledge that Janus talked a lot about how when we kind of look at team fighting, when we look at SK's ability to actually kind of play those front to backs, it's difficult against things like the Aphelios and the Orianna the later the game you go. But if you do give the Gwen an opportunity to get close enough and deal the damage, if you do provide the front line for Jezu to dish out the damage as well, you have a lot of strong late game carries that SK definitely can win out these fights.
Yep.
And I feel like a lot of it's going to come down to execution. On paper, Rogues should be easier to execute, but so far that's not been the case.
Sertuss at 4 items as well on this Ryze. He's looking for them. Realm Warp coming in. Gilius on there. They dive on towards Odoamne. Solar Flare's going to stun him up. Trymbi down. Treatz takes it. Odoamne next on the menu. Moonlight Vigil will do nothing as Malrang falls as well. Rogue, 2 members strong. What can you do? You got a Shockwave, but you've also got a Gwen. And she's chasing you down. The Shockwave hits. Jezu pulled back by it. Larssen trying to hold on to hope in this game for Rogue. They will back away. They will take their prize. The Baron in their eyes. And SK once again find a teamfight win.
Massive team fight win for SK. They just keep finding these really great fights, and this time it was off the back of a Realm Warp catching out Trymbi and mitigating a lot of those engage tools away from Rogue. They secure themselves another Baron. They're likely going to get themselves the Soul as well. And huge props needs to be given to SK. They just keep finding great team fights, and this time around again, look at the Realm Warp here. They know that they can catch Trymbi off guard. They see Odoamne isolate as well. They know that 2 members of Rogue are sitting in mid lane, and it's just great awareness from SK. Pretty consistently throughout this game, we've seen them over-grouping. You know, we've seen them staying as a 4-man or a 5-man, not really dealing with the sideways, but it has been working, and they've been catching Rogue off every single time.
And in that fight, Comp and Larssen were nowhere near. We saw that Moonlight Vigil Shockwave used well after the fight had concluded. Great picks from SK as they look for more. Larssen has to flash this wall. Trymbi, Everfrost's up, looking for an engage opportunity. He needs to clear out this vision. Maybe Trymbi can find something. Quickness a possibility, but already the Cloud Soul claimed by SK. Baron remains for them for 2 minutes. A 5,000 gold lead has developed for them. And let me just remind you about where they stand in our league at the moment. 5 and 10. They have to win every single game to have a chance, a slim one at that, of making playoffs. If XL and Vitality win later on today, it's done, it's dusted. Our top 6 are decided. Of course, still seeding to play for, but SK coming out strong in game 1, coming into the Super Week with strong intentions. There's the quickness. Gilius was by his lonesome here, and Gilius is shut down. And now SK, 4 players left on the Rift. Can still look to push in, but you can't go as far as you would have liked.
I think Gilius just wanted to keep the mid wave pushed in while the wave was being pushed in bot, but he was not expecting Trymbi to flank around, catch him off guard, and find that pick. It will slow down the siege from SK, but still important to recognize that is a very clear 6k gold lead in the back pocket of SK. The final item is being worked on for Jezu. This SK squad is incredibly far ahead, and they're in a prime position to end the game. The question is, can they actually break the base walls? Can they actually get into the base of Rogue? Because something that we've talked a lot about is this range, right? And so far, we've seen SK get very creative and punish a lot of the mistakes that we've been seeing from Rogue in terms of the team fights and coming out on top. But when it comes to these sieges, they have to be very cautious. They need to make sure that they're playing on multiple lanes, that they're splitting up Rogue, that they're giving Jinx the space to actually hit onto these towers. And they need to try and leverage this Baron as much as possible. They're knocking down this final tier 2. But the real challenge will come into trying to break into the base. We've only seen good things from SK so far this game. Can they round it out, and can they keep those playoff chances alive?
Odoamne was split pushing here as well. Won't be with the team. Malrang diving in as they look for the damage here, but Jenax on Gwen. Very difficult to lock down. Inhibitor line now falls.
Nicely done.
SK have broken the walls of Helm's Deep, and now they're looking to take the keep as well. They'll take one inhibitor for the moment. They'll push up towards the top side.
And just as their Baron runs out as well. Brilliantly timed there. Jenax just soaking up a lot of the damage from Rogue. A lot of those resources were invested into trying to find a pick to force SK back. But instead, SK found themselves a tower and their first inhibitor of the game. Patience is key here for SK. They've been playing the team fight so much better than Rogue pretty consistently throughout this game. And you know, yes, even if they do go 3-0, there's a world where they still can't make it to playoffs because things are still out of their control, right? XL and Vitality, if both of them get themselves a win, they will create a big enough points gap that Mad and SK just cannot catch up to. But ending your season on a high, showcasing that you have grown throughout the split, that there was more to your roster than met the eye, I think is really important for the confidence of the players, especially moving into the offseason and thinking about the summer split. It's been a difficult split for SK, but I think that we've seen...
It's been a difficult couple of years for SK.
For sure, but I think that we've seen some bright sparks and bright moments, and to be able to take down Rogue would definitely be a big confidence booster, especially moving into the rest of the weekend.
Definitely agree with you there. Trymbi here perhaps looking for a flank as Jenax pushes in the wave, but he won't overextend. He'll go back. He's on a ward right now, though. Malrang's on the chase. Trymbi could look for this. Malrang seen on vision, just a little bit too close. And because of that, SK are aware of the collapse that was about to happen. Full item on Sertuss. Gargoyles, Everfrost, Zhonya's, Thimble, Winter, and the Frozen Heart. A tank, but you can see those 654 damage shots showing just how much damage this Ryze can do. And when you have another Fed carry on the team, when you have a Gwen or a Jinx who can output that damage alongside you, Ryze works so much better with this tank build. Just facilitates you so much.
I kind of want to call it the frozen pizza build.
Why pizza?
Have you ever been hit in the face by a frozen pizza before?
No.
It really hurts.
Have you?
Yeah.
That's a story we gotta get into.
University was a wild experience. What can I say?
Who's throwing frozen pizza at your face, though?
Who hasn't been hit in the face by a frozen pizza?
Me. Most people.
Well, I feel like you're missing out. Point is, though, that
you
when
just said it was bad.
All I'm saying is that, like, it's tough and it hits hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Very durable, you know? An effective tool for in the event that you need to, I don't know, defend yourself. Frozen pizza. Now, back to the game at hand.
Treatz gets the engage as the realm walk for the chase. Malrang trying to retreat with the Crescent Guard, but he's solar flared, he's stunned up, and here comes Jenax. Stopwatch popped. Gilius tries to get onto the backline. Solar Shockwave not available for Larssen. He doesn't have the mana. He does not have the mana, and even though SK funneled into a choke point, Rogue once again were not able to find the fight. A triple for Jenax, who's tanking the Nexus Towers, as SK will deliver Rogue their 4th loss of the second half of the season and hold on to hope for some miraculous appearance in playoffs. A miracle run it would not be, but what a run it would be for SK if they can find it.
Every single fight was pretty much determined by SK. We did not see a single fight really go in the favor of Rogue, whether it be due to execution, whether it be due to, like, their communication or their setup. Everything was going the way of SK, and it seems that all SK needed was a bit of a stage buff. Their first time on the stage, all split long, and they immediately take advantage of it. A bit of a slow early game, but the way they closed things out looked great, looked promising. Huge props to SK and keeping their chances alive. The irony of this is that if Rogue had won, XL would have locked a spot in playoffs and they end up falling short. Of course, XL still have control over their own destiny and they will be playing against G2 later today, but I just think that that's quite funny.
It is quite funny. I mean, it makes the percentage of scenarios where XL lock playoffs a little bit bigger, but XL still very much in control of their own destiny. How hilarious would it be, though, if Cable joins them and then they lose?
We're not going to talk about that.
SK, though, very happy with their win, as you say, perhaps a stage buff for them. And you can vote for one of them in your Kia player of the game at LEC on Twitter. It's Gilius, Jezu, and Treatz as your options. And honestly, they all had really good performances. I loved seeing this resurgence from SK because the early game was relatively even, and we said, and the analysts thought, if it's even in the early game, Rogue have a stronger composition as the game goes on, but SK found some very strong fights in the mid game, some very pivotal moments.
But I think a lot of it came down to teamfight execution, right? When you kind of looked at the comps on paper, it did feel as though, especially with the range advantage that Rogue do have, they should be able to play those fights easier, but they got outperformed in pretty much every single fight. So huge props to SK.
Yep, great performance by SK, and they stay alive in the race for playoffs as they take down the #1 team in the league. And after the break, Law will be joined by the victorious Treatz.